Hello and welcome to the show. Today we're going to be tackling an audience question from Denise Mulima. Well, before we begin, I'd like to apologize that there is going to be some noise in the background. And so for Denise, she wants clarification on a couple of things. And the issues that she wants clarification are, let's see, okay, personal selling. She wants to be sure that personal selling is not related to branding. Okay, she wants me to clarify if that was what I was saying in a previous episode. Then whether personal selling involves relationships between you and the customer. Okay, yeah, that's a good question because there are people who assume, especially back when I was a creative, if you remember, if you listen to the previous podcast, we just assume that we're supposed to be friends with people that we do business with. So my assumption, of course, this is after the fact, the question has already been asked, so I can't go back and get exactly what it is that she's aiming at. But yes, so there's some of those concerns and some of those tensions. Do we have to be friends with everybody that we do business with? And then whether personal selling involves you making customers feel like you are in control. Okay. Okay, well, I think that's not that one. That's an interesting question because I talk about how we need to take the initiative as professionals, but then yes, you will run into other sales consultants, other business consultants, sales trainer types who say that it's good to give potential customers the illusion of control. Okay, well, since this is a lot of issues stacked into one question, personal selling, is it branding? Personal selling, does it involve relationship building between you and the customer? Personal selling, does that involve making customers feel in control? Okay, since that's a lot, and yesterday we had a 40-minute episode, I think what I'll do is I'll try and tackle maybe one or two right now, and then see how we can handle other related issues tomorrow. Okay, so far, if you love these sorts of subjects, subscribe. The show is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and remember to leave me a 5-star review. All right, so the first question, or the first part of the question, definition of terms, branding. What is branding? Lots of definitions, so I'm not going to proffer one here. But no matter the definition that you come across, you'll find that it usually has this whole thing about how you're perceived in the market. So that seems to be at the bottom of this whole thing around branding. How do the customers perceive you? How do stakeholders perceive you? What else? Okay, some people will even chuck in how do your employees perceive you, because that also reinforces the overall brand. Because if your employees perceive you one way, and they go on to conduct business the way that you are perceived, that rubs off eventually on how the entire public and how your customers perceive you. So, branding, what is branding? How you're perceived in the market. Now, there are lots of elements that go into a successful brand. Well, of course, successful is going to be relative to what it is that you want to design. And that is something that I have harped on in previous podcast episodes where I've spoken about the matter. Because there are some people, let's say Donald Trump, for instance, or over here in Nigeria, we have similar politicians who that is the whole point. They want to be perceived as harsh, abrasive, disciplined, decisive, whatever word it is. So that is part of the whole point. Because in a business sense, typically we would be avoiding some of those kind of associations when it comes to business. But then again, it's not just about how you're perceived, but how you intend to be perceived. So there's a problem if you intend to be perceived one way and then people perceive you another way. So if Donald Trump intends to be perceived as disciplined, decisive, what else? Straight to the point, but then he is perceived as flaky, conniving, then in that case, there's a problem. So it's often not just one question, how you're perceived, but also how you intend to be perceived in the market. So there are different elements that go into it. There's the design element. That is the one that everybody knows. So when people get ready to go into business, they pay too much attention to the design element. So they figure, what fonts am I going to use? What color am I going to use? Let me get somebody to design a logo. You start doing what's it called? What do you call these things? Strategy sessions. on brand positioning. You sit down, you do your SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats, and all the different things that you come up with. So people pay lots of attention to this stage, the design element. But that is not the only thing that goes into a successful brand. So fonts and colors and logos and brainstorming sessions, absolutely important, but that's not the whole picture. There is also a user experience component, and the user experience component is basically that's just what people feel on the ground, how you actually do business. So that reinforces how you are perceived. Nigeria is a good example. Nigeria keeps wanting to project this image of we are open to business, we are against corruption, we are for this, for this, for that. So there's lots of this posturing that Nigeria does in a corporate sense, whether it's over the internet or over the media. But then the experience of people on the ground happens to be something else. So we can keep on saying Nigeria is open for business, but so long as other business people, whether Chinese, Americans, or people from Asia, if they show up to do business, but then they do not feel that we're open for business, then we are not actually open for business, and that is the brand. Because there's been initiatives from the Corporate Affairs Commission, different kinds of bodies, to show that okay, you can register a business now in 2 days. It's this easy. Is this easy? Ease of doing business initiatives and blah 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 blah. So that is the design element. This is what we want people to think about us. But then people come and they say that the 2 day thing is a farce. I actually have to see this person, see that person, grease this person, bribe that person, wait for 3 weeks, come back and be told to wait again for another 1 month, or blah blah blah. So that is just an example to show how it's not just the design element, what you intend, but then there's actually the user experience component, how you actually do business. So in determining what your brand is going to be as a business, we have to pay attention to these things: what we intend, the design element, and then the user, the experience component, how people actually rub off against us when push comes to shove and they try to do business with us. So now that we've defined branding, how does that tie back to the question? Personal selling, is it branding? Well, the answer, of course, is no. Personal selling is not branding. And personal selling is acts of, okay, how do I put it? Personal selling, that's when you engage in one on one conversations with people because you are trying to get them to buy your product or your service. So that's what personal selling is. It's one on one. Now, the fact that it's one on one doesn't mean that it has to be face to face. It could be face to face, it could be over the phone, it could be via email or WhatsApp or text. But the most important thing is that when you get the email or the text or whatever it is, you are speaking exclusively to one person, and that person knows and feels that they are being spoken to and addressed exclusively. So that is what makes things one-on-one selling. That's what makes it personal selling, because you can take an email and broadcast to 1,000 people, and yeah, we receive those emails every day. That is not personal selling. But personal selling is when you pick up your keyboard, you type, "Dear Okechukwu, dear Katerina, thank you for your order, blah, blah, blah," whatever. Anyway, you get the personalized email. You're trying to follow up on specific issues, or you're trying to build rapport or something like that. So that is what makes something personal selling. So is personal selling branding? The answer is no. However, sales practice informs the user experience. Remember, we're talking about two different components that go into this whole branding thing. Number one is the design element. What do you want people to think? What do you want them to feel? What font? What logo? What color? How are we going to position the brand? Then there's the actual user experience on the ground. When they relate with us, what do they feel? When they come into the office and they talk to the receptionist, what feelings do they get? When they talk to our salespeople, how is it? Are we timely? Do we respond on time? When they meet our salespeople, what's the actual experience? So sales practice informs the user experience because sales owns the relationship with the customer. Okay, or rather, yes, sales owns the relationship with the customer. So let's go back to the wedding photographer example that I give all the time. And yes, that's because I started off my business career as a wedding photographer. So, yes, you're a photographer, but you're putting on your sales hat because you're interacting with people at bridal shows. You meet them in their homes, you bring them over to the studio, things like that. So in those sales interactions where you guys are negotiating, haggling, looking over samples, looking at albums, you're trying to figure out what it is that they want, all of those activities that go on inform the user experience and inform your brand perception. So your logos, your colors, your positioning, everything might be tight, buttoned up, and polished. But if you're constantly late for meetings, they ask you questions you don't know, they need figures, you don't have them. Let's see, you're dirty, your car is not clean, your trouser is not ironed, your hair is unkempt. I'm sure you guys get the picture. So you can see how sales practice is going to influence the actual brand perception. So online, the logos, marketing material, everything might be on point, but then actual sales practice leaves a lot to be desired, and so that affects the overall brand. So personal selling is not branding, no, but personal selling does a lot to inform what your actual brand is. So it is important in crafting or creating a brand, which is why you should be paying attention to these sorts of things. How are you showing up for meetings? How do you handle the whole process? Is it a repeatable, sustainable process that you can teach other people so that everybody is running from the same playbook? Because there's no point if you show up as the head honcho, you're the chief photographer, and you handle the meeting immaculately, but then subsequent meetings are handled by your second shooter or maybe by your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whoever, and then they handle it in a less than subpar manner. So all these things are important. If this is how you handle the client consultation, if this is how you handle the negotiations, talking over samples, looking at things like that, then it's important that it's something you can teach to other people effectively. Teach to other people and then effectively delegate so that we can keep a consistent brand promise. So, personal selling is not branding, but personal selling will go a long way to inform what your actual branding is, especially for the newbie business person. So, let's pay attention to that. So, if you're sloppy in sales practice, it'll affect your brand. If you're relatable in your sales practice, it'll it'll influence your brand. If you're off-putting in sales conversations or aloof, it'll affect your brand. If you're professional in having sales conversations and things like that, it'll affect your brand. So professional selling is not branding, but pay attention to personal selling because it will inform your branding. Okay, 12 minutes. I think I can tackle one more aspect of the question. Okay, yeah, so we'll just do two today and then we'll do two tomorrow. So, sorry, Denise Mulima, this is going to be a two-part response. Okay, let's see. Personal selling, branding, blah, blah, blah. Personal selling, okay, does it involve relationship building between you and the customer? Okay, yes. So, does personal selling involve relationship building? And the answer is yes. But it is not friendship, and it is not love, and it is not fun vibes and all these other ideas that we get when we talk about relationships. Because people hear relationships and they think, yeah, that's what they think: love, bliss, friendship, sending you good vibes, all those sorts of things. Now, a relationship just means you're standing in relation to or standing in proximity to something else or someone else. So yes, me and my children were in a relationship. My wife and I were in a relationship. Me and other stakeholders. Okay, let's say I had a. Okay, no, Dangote actually has a cement company. So Dangote's cement company also stands in proximity to the host communities around them. So there actually is a relationship. So love, friendship, and good vibes. Yes, that's nice. But that's between me and my wife, me and my kids. But the good vibes and all of that, would be nice between Dangote and the host communities where he owns his factories. That would be nice. But that is not what determines what a relationship is. What determines what a relationship is where you stand in proximity or in alignment to something else. So, personal selling will involve building relationships. And the relationship is not from the get go because there are people that we will talk to today, we hope to do business with tomorrow, but things don't get off to a start and we have to delete them from our list or they want to go their own merry way. And in that case, no relationship exists because we are not standing in proximity to something. We are looking forward to a closed sale. They are looking forward to solving a problem or achieving some vision. So, back to the wedding photographer example. We are looking forward to some nice dollar bucks and some nice naira that we can get from them. And they are looking forward to the stunning pictures that they will achieve at the end of the day. So, because we are standing in relation to something, in proximity to something, some goal, some vision, there is a relationship. So, when does the business relationship exist? It starts once we are done with qualification and once we are done with discovery. For those of you who are new listening to the show, search the catalog, over 715 episodes so far. You'll find more material about what qualification is and what discovery is. But summary, qualification is qualifications are the part of conversations that we have where we're trying to figure out the person. Who are you? What do you want? What's the background? What's their sense of style? Those sorts of things. So back to the wedding photographer thing, the part where you say, hey, thank you very much for coming to my stand. My name is Tabishima. What's your name? My name is Jeanette. I say, oh, Jeanette, that's interesting. We named our first daughter Jeanette. Oh, really? How old is your daughter? Oh, she's 6, blah blah blah, or whatnot. Anyway, we thank God you're getting married now, so you're going to be a parent soon and everything. So what brings you to the stand? How can I help you today? How did you and the groom meet? What color palettes do you like? Some, all those sorts of things. All that is qualification. Conversations around the person. Now, as you can see, it's absolutely important because we need that to build a sense of rapport and connection with the people. And then it helps us to move to the second part, which is discovery. Discovery is where we're trying to figure out what the problem is. Because there's no point in vibing with someone and building a good relationship with someone if at the end of the day you can't solve their problem. If you can't solve the problem, you're just wasting time. So if I go there and I make friends with the brides and the groom and we're all good and it looks like we can party, we can hang, we can go and drink beer and eat suya together. But at the end of the day, my photography style is not their cup of tea, then I'm just wasting my time. So it's a two-part thing. Conversations about the person or about the people, and then conversations about the problem, about the vision, about the goal. And so that's what discovery is about. So that's the part where we're moving into what's your wedding date? Have you guys built the hall? What are the colors? What themes are you guys looking at? What kind of style do you guys want? Are you guys about moments and memories, or do you want lots of posed photos? What about retouching? Do you want your skin to be smooth? Do you want me to make you a shade lighter? Are there any things you need to avoid? Are there family members you don't want to show up in the album? What's your favorite side? Do you want me to avoid this side of you? Blah, 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 blah. All those kinds of questions. Now, I know that I'm using wedding photography as an example here, but you will find that no matter what business it is that you're involved in, the process is the same. So, if you sell, let me see, let me think of something. Eggs. Okay, let's say you run a poultry. It's the same. Somebody comes to your poultry, and the security guard lets them into your office, and I say, hey, good morning, sir. Welcome. Come have a seat. How did you find out about us? Blah blah blah. What kind of business do you do? How long have you been in business? Blah blah blah. All those questions are important because, well, of course, you need to know how the person found you. You also need to know what kind of business the person is involved in because that informs how it is that they're going to use your product or your service. In this case, you have a poultry. So if you say, welcome, come sit down, it turns out that the person works with Mr. Biggs, then already in your okay, Mr. Biggs is a fast food chain. That's for those of you who are not Nigerians. And already the gears in your head are turning. Okay, this person is going to want chicken, most likely drumsticks or this kind of chicken part, and blah blah blah. So you see that's how the kind of thing you do in the qualification stage. Then discovery is when you now drill down deep. So you go straight and ask the questions. Okay, so I'm here. I'm assuming that since you're a fast food, what you're looking for is drumsticks or whatever, and you guys start having that conversations. Now, well, yes, we need drumsticks. So, what kind? Free range chicken or not? This part of chicken or not? Frozen or not? Pick up from the factory or deliver to you on location or not? Um, the schedule, budgets, budget considerations, all those sorts of things. That's the discovery thing. So whether you're a wedding photographer or whether you sell chickens, qualification, discovery, it's the same. It will always be there. It doesn't apply to people who are involved in commodity business. If you show up to the market, you want to buy egusi or you want to buy 2 plates of tomatoes, relationship building qualification, it's overkill. Now, for someone who is smart, they would like to build a relationship with the person who has come by the stand in the open market, but it's not compulsory. So if you sell egusi and somebody just comes and says, "Give me 5 plates of egusi," just give them 5 plates, haggle, and let them leave. But like I said, if you're smart, it would be good to engage them in conversation. Hey, customer, how now? How you day? Oh, I've not seen your face before. Do you come to this market recently? You come to this market a lot? Or you live around here? All those kinds of things. Okay, egusi. Oh, you're cooking for the house. Oh, that's nice. How are the children? How is Oga? How is Madame? Blah blah blah. So it can be applied for people who run commodity businesses. And okay, let me move on. 20 minutes, running out of time. Okay, but you get the idea. So that is when the relationship starts. When we are done with qualification, we know who we're talking to, and then discovery, we know what kind of problem they have or the vision they're working towards, and then we now know how we can solve it. At that stage, there is a relationship because we are now moving towards customer satisfaction, or we're moving towards collecting the deposit, or we're moving towards making sure the customer is successful. I mean, however way you look at it, there's not a relationship because we're moving towards something. So if there's friendship and love vibes and fun vibes, it's good. Now, some of us who are much more practical and problem oriented. So, like, yeah, I will. If any of you is a client, of course, I will do my best to make sure you get the results, that you want. But typically, the whole thing of, me asking about your family and becoming friends with your husband or your wife or something, that happens after we have achieved our goals and done a couple of stuff. So it depends. You don't have to have the friendship and the love vibes and everything for you to be effective at personal selling. Some of us do all the friendship and love vibes after we're done with business. And there's some of you who prefer to do the friendship and the love vibes and the fun vibes before you get into business. Whatever works for you. So that's it. Personal selling, yes, it involves building relationships. The relationships don't have to be fun, love, and fun vibes. We're not looking for best friends. Or, well, even if you're looking for best friends, I'm sure your customer is just looking to solve a problem. So the bride has come by your stand. I'm sure she just wants stunning photos. She's not looking for a new friend. The person who comes by your poultry, if you guys become friends and you go drinking together, that would be cool. But I really think the reason why he's there right now is because he wants to buy 1,000 eggs, or he wants to buy 500 pieces of chicken laps, as we call it in this part of the world, the drumsticks, chicken thighs. Yeah. Okay, so what was I? Okay, so the nature of the relationship is going to be, it should be customer focused. We should have customer success in view, and of course, the goal should be to try and expand the personal footprint, or rather, should I say social footprint? Anyway, you get the point. We're trying to get referrals, basically. So that's the nature of the relationship. Let's be customer focused. Let's make sure that the customer is successful with why they showed up to us in the first place, and then let's see if we can get them to bring their friends, their family members, and the associates. So those are the things that are the yeah, that's the ambit of the personal relationship that we have. So, summary, 2 questions. We have tackled 2. So, tomorrow we'll do the rest. Branding. Is personal selling branding? The answer in the summary is no. But personal selling will influence your actual branding, your actual brand. Yeah, let me put it. Personal selling will influence your actual brand. So, pay attention to that. It's personal selling, relationship building. Yes, it is relationship building, but we don't have to be best friends. Yeah, we don't have to be best friends. Let me summarize it that way. It's personal selling, relationship building. Yes, it's relationship building, but we don't have to be best friends. It's a relationship because we're standing in relation to a certain kind of goal, and we are trying to be as business people. We're trying to be customer focused, customer centric, and that's because we want to derive value out of this relationship, get people to bring their friends, their family members, and their associates along to do business with us as well. So that's the first half of your question, Denise Mulima. I will attempt the other parts tomorrow. So thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for your time and attention. Remember to connect with me on WhatsApp. The number is 080 6466 2140. The country code is +234. That's for those of you who are hitting me up from outside these shores. Also connect with me on LinkedIn. The name is Taveshima Ayede. Don't worry about the spelling. You find it in the website where you're currently listening to this podcast episode, or if you just check the profile of the podcast app where you're listening to my voice, you'll see my name there and most likely my email address as well. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.